Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. Let's take a look at what we're discussing. First of all, I think very pertinent to mention over here that the Pakistan Cricket Board right now is looking for some sort of stability. But at this moment, I think whenever somebody leaves PCB, they come up with some new stories which start making headlines. So I think we've got to talk about this in detail, where former director PCB, after parting ways with the organization, has opened up a new Pandora box where recently, of course, he said in a statement, which was his first ever statement after parting ways with PCB, he said that unprofessional things, he wants to highlight some of these things. But just recently, he highlighted that he had to convince Babar Azam for 2 whole months to change his batting order, and he even went on to say that I had to tell Babar that you and Rizwan are the best players we have right now. The combination is perfect, but the fact is that you two are not Pakistan team. We have to, look at the entire team and develop and play as a team as well. So we're going to talk about this, this entire scenario, where this is going, because what it signals is that then maybe Hafiz was the particular person who wanted a change in this batting order. I think that highlights a lot of things, but we will talk about that. Then, of course, we move on to India versus England, where India have completely bamboozled the visitors now. England had absolutely no clue. And I got to talk about many things, not just Sarfaraz, but I think the way Jaiswal has played, it was absolutely superb. I mean, fantastic innings, and it's not every day you see Jimmy Anderson being hit for 3 sixes in a row. So the fact is that there has been a lot to talk about in this Indian side as well. They've completely outclassed their opponents, and now they lead the series as well. So we'll talk about this in detail, because like I said that, they're a side that keeps on evolving. And I always say that, if you want to talk about bench strength, or if you want to talk about a strong domestic system, then you've got to talk about India, because that's the way they're going. So we'll talk about that in detail. Then, of course, we move on to a Winter Sports Festival that is also taking place, and you've got to highlight everything, because it's not just a Winter Sports Festival, but it is also cultural display as well, and all the majestic beauty of Pakistan's northern areas, that is also up there. So at Ganga Choti, this Winter Festival is being organized. So we'll talk about that as well. Then we move on to the world of motorsports, and we will be discussing rally racing as well, where Pecca Lappi has yet again surprised most of us. And I understand that there has been a fair bit of competition, but if you look at Hyundai's recent consistency, they've managed to actually gain momentum and crucial points at very critical stages as well. So we'll talk about that, because Sweden is a tough terrain. When you talk about rally racing, then you look at these snow-covered tracks in Sweden, they really pose a challenge over here. And of course, unlike on the other part of the world where we've had suspension breakdowns and whatnot, drivers are really tested over here. So it's not just the machine. So we'll talk about that as well. Then we move on to football. And of course, we've got to talk about Al Nassr, who have claimed yet another victory, and they continue to dominate Saudi football as well. So we'll talk about that in detail. And of course, who can ever talk about football and not talk about the great Cristiano Ronaldo? So we'll talk all there is, and Otavio as well. He was brilliant in the game. So we'll talk about him as well in the second half of the show. Time now to introduce our guest. First of all, in studios, we've been joined by our sports expert. He's a cricket commentator. He's an international broadcaster and presenter, Qiyasif Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, sir?
Walaikum assalam, Ahmed. I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm very well, sir. Great to have you on the show. We've also been joined by cricket expert and analyst Sabir Hussain. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Sabir?
Walaikum assalam, Ahmed. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, sir. Great to have you as well. Asif, what is going on? I mean, once you're in the PCB, you tend to do a lot of things, but you're shy of talking to the media, and often we see other people doing press conferences. But as soon as someone parts ways with the PCB, immediately we see so much, I think, news coming out that it actually becomes a very, a topic that possesses a lot of sensation for cricket fans all around the world.
Well, I think, to be honest, sorry to say, it reflects the hypocritic approach of our society. When you're enjoying the designations, when you're enjoying the different positions in Pakistan Cricket Board, then everything is going okay. Then you feel that you're the best person on that position. But as the Pakistan Cricket Board turns down your contract and you're no more there, you have started revealing different things. And in your intro, you said that Hafiz had spent 2 months to just convince Babar Azam that you're not going on number 1 or number 2, you'll be playing on number 3. Was that the job responsibility of team director to talk to directly to the the previous skipper, the former skipper. I think the manager and the coaches, they're responsible for these kind of jobs. So I think himself, Mohammad Hafiz, his character is dubious, as I said earlier as well in our previous show, that he was talking to the players in the hotel's lobby. Don't sit here. Come on, dear. If you're not allowed to do this, you have manager, you have coaches, they're with you. Let them do their and let them fulfill their responsibilities. If you are coming and you're asking them, I mean, this is 9:30, you guys are still up, why you're not sleeping? And why I'm saying this, because a couple of players, they have given some written applications against Hafiz, and the CEO of Pakistan Cricket Board and the previous chairman, they were not happy with this, and that's why they have said, Hafiz, thank you very much, we don't require your services. So Hafiz was a school teacher or a professor rather than, you know, the team director.
Well, obviously, but on the other hand, they were not school children. They were players of the Pakistan cricket team, and they, like Asif said, they didn't take it lightly. So they were completely, I think, you know, you can say they weren't ignorant of the fact, but I think they were completely unhappy with the situation as it was in Pakistan cricket. And in previous tenures, we've seen as well that you can't bother players to an extent where they are disturbed, and that goes the wrong way. No one can be treated like that. But unfortunate that we're still, I think, on this day talking about this as well. Sabir, it's not the first time, I think, when somebody has been part of a PCB structure, then he's left, and then he's given all sorts of haywire statements and complaining about the procedure, complaining about the board and its policies, and also about some of the players as well. I mean, you were there, you had a chance to prove yourself, and you couldn't.
Look, I mean, this kind of a matter, should have been handled properly from Mohammad Hafiz's side, I would say, because he has been, known for his kind of cricketing, expertise, I would say. We have seen a couple of ex-cricketers, basically, who were basically, given the roles of, some coaches like Yunus Khan, couple of Saqlain Mushtaq as well, Abdul Razak, Muhammad Yusuf. These are the basically players who were basically given a couple of roles. I mean, they obviously were basically I would say resigned or they left PCB. But I mean, I haven't heard some kind of harsh kind of statement, some Pandora boxes, kind of a threatening kind of a Twitter messages from Mohammad Hafiz, I would say. But I mean, it's very disappointing to see such kind of messages, or I would say some inside stories from the dressing room. Because since you are not in a job, you were supposed to handle the things, I mean, quite professionally. But I mean, the way he has been discussing such kind of a things on social media, because we were quite expecting something different from Mohammad Hafiz, because he's a kind of a new generation kind of a coach. He basically does not have a coaching experience, I would say, because we always talk about we need to have a experienced coach who has a kind of he has to pass some kind of levels like Yasser Arafat. We always talk about or you have a kind of a cool and calm composure kind of personality, because we have a kind of ego problem. Again I would say Waqar Younis, even I'm not saying because some cricketers basically criticize our ex-cricketers since they were in the coaching role. So this is the way basically Pakistan cricket works. I mean, Mohammad Hafiz must not forget, he can be called again in PCB, because you never know in PCB couple of after a couple of months or couple of years again you will be getting the job in PCB. So you have to be choosy as far as the words are concerned, your behavior is concerned, because you never know in PCB anything can happen. But it should have been handled properly. But I mean, for the good of Pakistan cricket, and couple of things I would agree with Mohammad Hafiz. Yes, he basically wanted to try some youngsters, and it was a good time for Pakistani youngster to be tested in New Zealand, in Australia as well. Babar Azam, Mohammad Rizwan, a couple of senior players like Shaheen Shafridi, should have I think shown some kind of a guts to drop down themselves to give some chances to the youngsters. I mean, this is the role of senior players. I mean, but again, Mohammad Hafiz should have dealt it properly, because he was a cricketing director, not a head coach, not a kind of a
he was the head coach as well,
or a bowling coach as well.
Technically,
he was a head coach, a bowling coach, a wicket keeping coach. He was everything in the PCB.
But Ahmed, if you allow me, I will ask you that. See, he has spent 2 months to convince Babar Azam. What happened with Rizwan? Why he didn't convince to Rizwan that you come number 4, number 5?
Look, Asif, if you knock at someone's door and they don't answer, you keep on knocking. But if you knock on someone's door, they open and they say, "Go away! You don't knock again." So I think that's what happened with Rizwan.
Does it make any sense? Seriously?
Yeah, I'm being honest. I think we of course knew a couple of things there, and we don't confirm anything because obviously we heard from people who are close to the structure and to the board in the system. They said that Rizwan was asked about this prospect and he clearly refused. He said there is no chance of it happening. If you want, you can drop me if you feel like. So I think for Babar it was very unfortunate. But then again, I agree with Sabir where he says that for a person like Hafiz, he should have handled it in a better. Look, my problem is that even if you're leaving the Pakistan Cricket Board at a juncture, you could do it gracefully as well, right? You could say that, okay, I served PCB to the best of my ability, but right now I am not looking at any other opportunity. And to Hafiz's credit, I would say that it was very difficult that immediately you come to the job and the first tour you are given is of Australia and New Zealand. But what we're talking about, Asif and Sabir, is not result. We're talking about the policies. We're talking about what kind of role did you play in those 2 months on the and I think, Asif, let's be honest, you have also talked about this prospect as well, that conflict of interest is a huge thing here, because you cannot expect your team to take you as a coach if you've already shared a dressing room with them as a player. So I think all of us, and like we've been mentioning that the PCB now, this is I think a moment for them as well to reflect that if they want to hire someone, if they want to get someone in the structure, be it foreign or domestic, have somebody with at least 5 to 10 years of coaching experience.
Well, that's rightly said that last year we have seen that Mohammad Hafiz was playing Pakistan Super League in 2019. He was the part of the World Cup squad. He was actually the member of playing 11. And rightly said that you have shared dressing room with these kind of players, these youngsters, and they were taking you as your senior, and that's it. Because rightly said by Ahmed that if you don't have an experience of 5 or 10 years, and please don't try and don't send your resume for any sort of jobs description, because I'm quite sure that if you are coming with this kind of an experience like 5-10 years in coaching or managerial experience, then definitely the people, they will give you respect. And then of course, if you will restrict towards your responsibilities, if you're a team director, should behave like a team director. You shouldn't be a coach all that, in one row you are a bowling coach, batting coach, spin bowling coach, wicket keeper coach, everything you are.
Short break, stay tuned. And of course, I think these statements go a long way, because we're in a part of a world where a lot of eyes are rolling for Babar Azam and there's a lot of talk about him. So any statement related to him are going to have a huge impact. And Asif, I want you, as a broadcaster yourself as well, and you probably have talked to many players and you keep on talking to players whenever you're there or off the field as well. What we forget as broadcasters or as presenters is that whatever is happening tends to have a direct impact on the player, their game which they're playing, obviously their form, and their families as well. So at the end of the day, you have to consider that whoever you're talking about is also a human being.
Yes, that's right. Let me give you an example. I was the manager for under 13 Rawalpindi, and the regional head, during a meeting, he said to me, do remember that you're a manager, you're not a coach. Don't tell any kid that you're doing wrong, you're not playing good. We do know that you can play cricket, you do know about the batting techniques, fielding, but this is not your job responsibility. So I was the manager, and that was my that was my responsibility to manage rest of the things regarding my team, regarding my boys. Now you are saying about the Babar Azam, a statement. See, his family already suffering a lot, just because of that the negative campaign which we had started right after the World Cup. that we thought that only Babar Azam is the key or the root for the losing in World Cup. That was not, yes, of course, being skipper, there was a huge responsibility on his shoulders. But it was not Babar Azam all the person that who was responsible for that defeat in the World Cup. What happened? He turned down, he said that I'm no more, he has given the resignation, and now Mohammad Hafiz has started another and opened another Pandora box. I think this is not good. Why you haven't spoken to the media right before your when you lost the job, when you were on the position? Why didn't you say
Immediately after the
yes?
series, yes.
And when you're not on the position, now you're telling that you're an honest guy. I think I'm not taking your words.
But Asif, because you particularly mentioned Babar Azam over here as well, I think for his sakes, and this is off topic, but reality is reality, that Babar's got to realize that, you know, the fact is that such kinds of statements cannot stop Babar from being an international celebrity or a player. He's already recognized around the world, and that's why I think cricket should be the focus for him as well.
He was batting on number 3. Even then, he was the top scorer against New Zealand. What does it mean? That his bat was giving an answer to the trollers and to the criticizers. But once again, the issue is that Babar Azam is not our problem. Our problem is Pakistan cricket. Yes, we don't have heroes nowadays like Babar Azam. You know, I was watching a video from AJK, so from Occupied Kashmir. A kid been asked to, a journalist asked a question to that kid that who are you supporting in IPL? He said Babar Azam. He said that Babar Azam is not in IPL. He said that even then I'm supporting.
I think even Bangladesh, he has
Yeah.
a huge fan base
Yeah.
as well, Babar.
Yeah.
He's really an international celebrity over there. But I think the fact is that, you know, whatever Mohammad Hafiz says right now can be good enough for news making and for, you know, for the sake of discussion. But I seriously think it won't have an impact on Pakistan cricket anymore, because the administrative affairs are in good hands. They're going at a trajectory where they're going to change a lot of things. So we'll probably see that this statement is not, you know, it's all about hue and cry of somebody who's not there in the system anymore. That being said, now we shift our focus to Test cricket, and India and England has been a treat to watch once again. I mean, the third Test match once again more exciting. India already leads the series 2-1, but the fact is the way India have played, they've completely dominated the hosts as well, and England have tried their ability to play that baseball mentality, but clearly it has not been that successful as it had been in pitches that were, you know, outside these countries. But Sabir, I think for their sake, they've got Ben Duckett scoring, everybody's performing to the party, but that key element of Joe Root is still missing over there.
Very true. You know, I mean, it's quite you know, disappointing to see some such kind of senior players from England. You know, they are playing, you know, some kind of a poor shots, I would say. You know, they have been you know, traveling to India. They basically toured Pakistan. They had a kind of a subcontinent experience recently. They should have in a positive manner, you know, playing attacking cricket, but you need to play some sensible cricket. I mean, you have to have a game awareness, because the way basically England started their bowling, India was basically 33 for 3. Hats off to Ravindra Jadeja, because Rohit Sharma, obviously he made a you know, fantastic 100, being a captain, being a senior player. Hats off to Ravindra Jadeja. He was basically injured in the previous Test match, but I mean, he basically promoted you know, at number 5, but he played exceptional cricket, likes of some Cheteshwar Pujara kind of a technique, you know, stood on the wicket, playing some wonderful shots. But I mean, again, in the first inning of England, they started really well. Ben Duckett, Zach Crawley as well, they batted beautifully, you know, 200 for 2 and in just 35 overs. So that particular time, Joe Root should have played sensibly, Johnny Bairstow as well, Ben Stokes. They should have basically, you know, gone to the score to level some India's score like 445. But I mean, they basically crumbled. Again, they played poor shots. I mean, heads off to Indian bowling. There was no kind of, you know, some lethal turn, but heads off to, you know, Kuldeep Yadav, Ravindra Jadeja as well. Their bowling was basically fantastic. I mean, but poor shot selection. Again, James Anderson, he basically bowled 25 overs in first inning, 13 overs in second inning. So 38 overs. I mean, he basically picked up 1 wicket. England basically need to think. They have to find out kind of some another bowling attack like Ollie Robinson, you know, Mark Wood as well. Indian batsmen struggle against pace. But the pace likes of James Anderson, he could be very useful in England condition, Australia, might be in South Africa as well. But some subcontinent, he needs to have some kind of some reverse swing. Otherwise, he will be thrashing like Jaiswal. Jaiswal is a wonderful future for India. I tweeted a couple of months ago when he was basically playing IPL, along with Jose Butler, and Jose Butler basically praising Jaiswal. So Jaiswal is a product of Indian under-19. So this is what we have been talking about. Pakistan basically need to pick a couple of players who are basically suited to Test cricket. The problem with us, basically, we are selecting Pakistan cricket from PSL to Test cricket, PSL to ODIs. So this is the difference between India and Pakistan. That is the reason they are successful. Even their young players are performing against the mighty bowling lineup. Shubman Gill is a wonderful feature. Sarfaraz Khan, the induction in the Pakistan, in the Indian team at the age of 26 years, he basically performed consecutively in Ranji Trophy. So that is the reason basically they are successful. But when in contrary in Pakistan, so we are basically playing some different conditions.
Well, I think Sabir has hit the nail on the head, because two things I particularly, Asif, want you to talk about is because Rohit Sharma was criticized too much because India didn't win the World Cup. But what we fail to understand from Rohit Sharma's game is that he not only is he a confident cricketer, a modern day cricketer who reformed India's one-day game. Let's be honest, not every day you see a person hitting the ball straight down the ground. I think we missed that element. This century is going to do a lot for him in terms of mental strength as well. But he is a very, very strong captain who has been taking decisions on the basis of what he wanted, and he has stuck with those decisions. So I think that highlights a very strong captain for India, and they've named him as a T20 skipper as well.
Well, that's right. Rohit Sharma with solid nerves, the way he came back and performed for India, I think it's been remarkable. And but two things which Sabir has said: a bowler who has taken around 700 wickets and played more than around 200 test matches, 185 games. James Anderson is a big name and is a top-notch bowler. And Sabir, if you're saying that you're not okay in these conditions, I think that you should have review with your comments, because James Anderson, he performed everywhere in the world, even in Pakistan, in India, in Bangladesh, in New Zealand, everywhere he has performed so well. And yes, now he's 41 years of age. You can ask the question that we require some, extraordinary performances from you, and the expectations are high. But still, he's a masterclass. Now, talk about the system. Jaiswal and Shubman Gill and their Sarfaraz, both, all of them, they have performed so well in their domestic cricket, in the Ranji Trophy, which you have said. And strongly agree with you. Jaiswal, 22 years of age, 22 games in first class cricket, and the average is above 70. What does it mean? Reflects your performances, your consistency with the bat, how strong you are. And that's why he played a stunning knock. It's not easy to hit smashes, a team who actually believe in baseball approach. Actually, this is firing back now for England, and they would have to understand, and rightly said by Sabir, the short selection was poor. You're playing aggressive cricket, but does not mean unorthodox all the time.
As a team, this is their highest margin of victory. The previous one was 370 plus against New Zealand in 2021 at the Wankhede. So, they've got this mapped out as well. And you've got to talk about Ravindra Jadeja, because it's not just about scoring a century, but taking 7 wickets as well at the same time. And we've often raised the point that he is probably one of the only all-rounders in modern day cricket who is fitting into every format for a team. One day, T20, Test cricket, he's got that ability to just change his game at an instant. And the other one who I see for the future, I think, is going to be Rachin Ravindra, who I see is going to have that ability as well.
Well, rightly said, Rachin Ravindra. Wow, what a sensational youngster he is. Yes, Ravindra Jadeja, if you talk about his fielding, if you talk about his batting, his bowling, either it's T20, either it's ODI, either it's Test cricket, what a player he is. And that's why a player like Ravindra Jadeja, he's bringing victories for his team. Do remember his role, what he had done in a recent past in the World Cup. Yes, they didn't manage to win in the final, but even then, the rest of the 10 games, there was a total unite effort from the team, and especially the middle order batting, and then this all-rounder Ravindra Jadeja. But how you're forgetting the 12 sixes of Jaiswal? He has In previously, we have witnessed that from Wasim Akram. He was playing with Saklan Mushtaq. In both of them, they have scored the century, if I'm not wrong, against Zimbabwe. And I think after that, after a long time, Jaiswal hit 12 sixes. That was amazing. And if you have watched his innings, Ahmed, do remember all of them, those were the proper cricketing shots, not baseball cricket.
Well, I think Sabir already has mentioned the fact that this approach, if you talk about it, has been successful, we agree. But at the same time, they've taken probably the strength of players like Joe Root away as well. Because I don't see any candidate. I think if England wanted to do that, they should have probably, banked on David Malan to do that. He would have been the ideal candidate. But there had to be somebody who's going to carry the innings, because clearly Ben Stokes is also struggling at the moment as well. Sabir, you'd like to add further?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, the culture of Pakistan and India. The difference between Jaiswal is the same player. Basically, 1.5 years ago in Ranji Trophy, Ajinkya Rahane was the captain. He was basically during the field, misbehaving with the opponent, with the other opponent batsmen. He was basically, I would say, complained by the batsman to the umpire and also the Ajinkya Rahane, and he was basically sent to the dressing room. So in spite of this, he was basically, handled properly. Look at Jaiswal right now. So same problem with Ahmed Shehzad, Umar Akmal as well, as far as behavior issues are concerned. So I mean, you have to deal with the players. I mean, look at Pakistani media, I would say PCB, some coaches as well, some local coaches. The way basically they have been handling Umar Akmal, I would Shoaib Akhtar in the past, and then right now Ahmed Shehzad as well. So there are some kind of issues as far as behavior is concerned. You have to have some tactics to how to deal with it. So this is the big difference between the culture of Pakistan and Indian cricket. I mean, but again, England, they have to find out some solid players like Zach Crawley, I would say, James Wynn, I would say David Malan. I totally agree with Ahmed. You have to have a technically sound batsman who can survive in every condition. Johnny Bairstow, Joe Butler as well. They are kind of a T20 players. I mean, yes, they can play better in their own conditions, but in these kind of conditions, you need to have technically sound batsmen. Like they used to have, Michael Vaughan, Nasir Hussain, Graham Thorpe, the left-hander in the middle order, Butcher as well. So these are the basically batsmen. They used to play quite well in subcontinent pitches. We still remember in 1998. When basically England toured Pakistan, the captaincy of Michael Atherton and Nasir Hussain, they basically won the series against Pakistan. So they basically required similar kind of a batsman. As per the situation, as per the conditions, you need to find out the batsman, I would say, for the England.
Absolutely, but the key thing over here, because we're talking about Jaiswal, is Asif, what we talk about in Pakistan as well, of any player who's there as well. Now, particularly for Jaiswal, he had played 15 first-class games before this test match. And in those 15, I understand some people might say even 15 is a very less number. But in those 15 first-class games, he had an average of 80 runs, more than 1,600 runs scored in 15 games, which is remarkable for a youngster. And then on the other hand, he had played more than 20 List A matches as well. And he had an average of above 60 there as well. So we can understand that, for India, it's not just the under-19 that you need to talk about, but the immediate conversion of those players from the under-19 circuit to the domestic season, which is Ranji Trophy. And I think once you prioritize and you keep on scoring in the longer format, that's why, Asif, we say that you got to be technically sound and then you can adjust in any format.
Well, that's why we guys are talking about the players like Jaiswal and Sarfraz and Shubman Gill. Even Sarfraz, that was his first test and he scored 50, which is really good. That will increase his confidence, and credit goes to the selectors, credit goes to their cricket board, the way they're grooming their players. Rightly said that a player who's coming from under 19, right after that, gives him chances in first class cricket. What we do in Pakistan, you played under 19, bring this player into the Pakistan in other leagues and other and there is no more first class cricket.
But Asif, does it make a difference as well that you also give them financial stability through the Ranji Trophy?
Well, see, the financial aspects, it is really hurting Pakistan cricket, and that's that the players, they're just eyeing towards shortcut and they don't play first class cricket. Why Pakistan Cricket Board has asked and penalized to Haris Rauf because he wasn't available for test cricket. He was not giving respect to the first class cricket and test cricket, and I think that now this is the best time Otherwise, that we'll be suffering same the way we are suffering in Test cricket if we're not taking harsh steps like this.
Absolutely. Well, I think the fact is that India have clearly dominated England, and if they've got a trick up their sleeves, better now, because if you want to play the final of the World Test Championship, you've got to have a lot of tricks. It's not that easy anymore because these sides are truly competitive. On that note, Asif and Sabir, thank you very much for joining us. We'll take a short break, but stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Extra. Time now to discuss football, and in studios we've been joined by sports expert Ali Mehdi. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Ali?
Walaikum salam, I'm very well.
Ali, great to have you as well. Thank you for joining us. Now, we are talking about the Saudi Pro League as well, and Al Nassr continue to dominate. One goal by Otavio, but one by Cristiano Ronaldo. So I think he's still there enjoying his football. And obviously this move had a lot of eyeballs as well. But first of all, Ali, how would you like to comment on Al Nassr? Because as a lot of people predicted that, Ronaldo centric, it's not the case. It's been quite often now that they've had a lot of support from other players who are instrumental in making sure that Al Nassr is winning.
Look, Al Nassr actually got off to a disastrous start to the season. They lost a couple of matches, but ever since then, they've actually done very well. They've had a core of players which have actually come through, and because of that, they've been on the tail of Al Hilal, who've been absolutely phenomenal till now. Al Nassr last year, they actually won. They also finished runners-up too, but by at a distant second. But this year, they started poorly, but they've actually done very well, and obviously spearheaded by the great Cristiano Ronaldo, who's actually the top league scorer this year, getting 21 goals in 20 matches. And it just shows that as he's progressing with age, he's just getting better and better as with age progresses. And if you look at 2023, he was probably the highest top scorer in the world. So it just shows that at the end of the day, he's just got endless talent, and he just gets better with every year. But the thing with Al Nassr is this year is that whilst they're doing very well, they've lost a couple of games. Will they be able to hunt down Al Hilal, who've been absolutely phenomenal? They got Fulham's Alexander Mitrovic, who scored about 19 goals. He's hot on the trails of Cristiano Ronaldo. But the fact of the matter, they've been playing very progressive football. They're doing well in the AFC Champions League. And at the end of the day, the big game is going to be Al Hilal versus Al Nassr, which is going to be later on this season. But till now, Al Hilal are probably the best teams, and I would say this, in the world right now in club football.
Well, Ali Mehdi, it's interesting because we've often talked about, because if we can only talk about two players at the moment, Messi and Ronaldo. So we talked about the part that the reason why Manchester United were unable to extract the best of Ronaldo is because they didn't build a system around him. Instead, they wanted him to adjust to a system. That's something you can't do with players like Cristiano Ronaldo.
Look, Cristiano Ronaldo is an absolute legend of the game. He's done absolutely everything in every league. He's won league titles all over the world too. He's won multiple Champions League, about 5 Champions Leagues he's won too, and he's single-handedly. The thing with that he was there at the wrong time too, with the wrong system, with the wrong manager actually to coach him too. Before that, when he came, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ralf Rangnick, and then when Erik ten Hag came, then you can't do that to Cristiano Ronaldo. He's a bona fide striker. He will get you goals, but the problem was it was just very unfortunate because he's one of the greatest players Manchester United ever produced. He's a club legend, but unfortunately the system did not suit him. Rather, you need to actually suit him for any sort of system.
But
so it's
even on the basis of Al Fatah, we're looking at those goals scored in these visuals as well. I mean, clearly, you can't leave players. It's absolutely, I think, outrageous how Al Fatah were unable to mark, primary targets inside as well. Because both of these goals, even this one, if you look at, and of course they had a huge passing percentage as well, but clearly defensive errors from Al Fatah.
Yeah, clearly defensive errors, and if you are going to make defensive errors against a team like Al Nassr, which have got extreme pedigree over there with Champions League winners throughout their core and spine, then they're going to punish you, and that's exactly what happened. And even though Al Nassr looked a bit leggy and weren't at their prime best over there, they capitalized, and that's what you need to do. You have these games where you're not playing well, but if you get slight chances and if the opposition makes mistakes, you can capitalize, and that's what Al Nassr did yesterday. And they got lucky. But going forward, Al Nassr against the big teams, you could say the top 5 are going to I really have to work hard, because if they are hot on pursuit of Al Hilal, then they have to make sure that they win all their games.
But it's not just been about selective games as well, because a lot of people had come to the equation that maybe Cristiano Ronaldo is going to be playing selective football once he moves on to Saudi Arabia. But I think clearly from the body language, he's enjoying it at the moment.
No, he's enjoying it, and the most important thing is, Ahmed, you have to give a lot of credit also to the Saudi Pro League, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Arabian Football Federation, and then obviously Mohammed bin Salman, because they know that how important Cristiano Ronaldo is for that vision of the 2034 World Cup, which is going to be held in Saudi Arabia. So for that, you need the best players, you need the vision of Cristiano Ronaldo, and you have to make it comfortable for him. He's enjoying. Initially he had problems, but he's loving his life in Riyadh and in Saudi Arabia too. He has flexibility over there, he has a very calm lifestyle over there, very comfortable one, and because of that, he's keeping himself fit. And ever since he's gone, Ahmed, he has had no fitness issues, maybe a little here and there, but overall he's been really fit at the prime age of 38. In fact 39 too. He just turned 39 a couple of weeks ago.
Doesn't look like that. It seems to be. Even his latest picture of himself, he looked up. He was absolutely looking as the fittest athlete I've seen in a while now.
Ahmed, you have players who retired by the age of 34, 35. I remember the great Zinedine Zidane lost his legs by the age of 34. And then you remember the great Ronaldo too, they lost. But with Cristiano Ronaldo, he just takes it a step further, and at the age of 39, he's still scoring goals so fun. So credit due to him. He keeps his fitness too, and he's loving the game. He's playing, 2 matches every week, which just shows that the environment suits him, and he's loving his life in Saudi Arabia.
Absolutely, and I think we have to talk about the system in play as well. Right now, I can't match it right now with some of the top leagues, but Saudi Pro League certainly, through the basis of the system, the investment, everything that Saudi Arabia is doing right now, is creeping up to one of the most competitive leagues in the world. Slowly creeping up.
No, definitely, and you've got a very valid point over here. The thing is, Cristiano Ronaldo said that by the 2026 World Cup, or going forward, we expected to actually get into the top 5 leagues in the world, and I think they're not very far off, considering that they've come so far in such a short time. You have to give credit to the administration and all these plethora of players who are coming, because they're working very hard for it. But then at the end also, the arrangements and the facilities for these players over there has been phenomenal. So I think the quality is great. I think the TV rights have been great. You talk about here in Pakistan, we never used to get, we didn't even know about the Saudi Pro League before the Qatar World Cup in 2022, but now you see that it's coming regularly on television, and people know about the Saudi Pro League too. And in fact, there are some players who give it equal weightage and see it as much as the European League. So I think Saudi Pro League has come a long way in a short span of time, but as time progresses, I think it's going to fit into top 5 leagues.
Even I think for Saudi Arabia, they the team management was really bummed that they got knocked out of the Asian Football Cup as well. You could clearly see that the manager was not happy because that loss to South Korea. They were expecting some serious results in that cup as well.
Yeah, they were expecting some serious results. They were very disappointed. And who thought the team who the hosts last year of the Qatar 2022 World Cup, they who didn't manage to win a single game, in fact didn't manage to win any sort of game. They actually went on to defend their title. So this is the thing. Even though it was really a bad, the AFC, this Asia Cup for Saudi Arabia, Qatar did extremely well. They defended their title too. So I just think going forward in the next AFC Cup and also in the next World Cup, which will be held in the USA, Mexico and Canada, Saudi Arabia is going to come a very long way.
So
because they have Mancini too.
Yeah, I was going to come to that. That stick with Roberto Mancini, and also keep him calm as well. Don't let him walk off the field before the match is even completed.
Yeah, they really need to make sure that they perform very well, because Roberto Mancini is the sort of player that, he has high standards. We saw it against Pakistan when they actually played in the national, in that match when Pakistan went to Saudi Arabia too. He wasn't happy with the way Saudi Arabia played against Pakistan Football Federation. But at the end of the day, he has high standards. They have to live up to those high standards. Otherwise, Roberto Mancini will walk away.
Certainly. Ali Mehdi, thank you very much for joining us and your analysis. Well, one fact is true. I think that the Saudi Pro League is certainly producing results. And I think it's not just the system in play. If I look at the fan following right now, if I look at that Saudi crowd, I see a lot of hunger for football. And I think that's where the system develops from. And that's where you got to have the best competitive leagues as well. Because that dominance that we saw from countries that were almost remote to football but started investing in league, I think Saudi Arabia has just put every one of those countries to side now. So we'll of course be talking, I think the Saudi Pro League, the system and the results in more shows to come as well. But that wraps it up for me and the entire team of Sports Extra. It's goodbye for now.